Here at Icon Materials, we have a very diverse operation with many different pieces of equipment operating all around us. Throughout the day, this equipment needs to have regular servicing and repairs made. During servicing and/or repair, we do not want the equipment to start or move, which could result in an injury or death of the person working on it. To prevent this from happening, Icon Materials and all of Oldcastle Materials have implemented a lockout-tagout program. This lockout-tagout program is paramount in the protection of our employees. Oldcastle Materials has experienced 2 fatalities related to lockout-tagout. Lockout-tagout involves turning off any energy source associated with a piece of equipment, locking or tagging the energy source switches in the off position, and releasing any stored energy. This prevents the equipment from starting or moving when an employee is working on it. There is a very specific sequence of steps required for locking and tagging out each piece of our equipment. Only a person that has been completely trained in lockout-tagout and the procedures for that piece of equipment is allowed to perform lockout-tagout. This person is called an authorized employee. However, this training is not for the authorized employee. Instead, it is for the affected employee. An affected employee is one that works around or operates a piece of equipment, but is not authorized to perform maintenance or repairs, and thereby not allowed to lock or tag out the equipment. The main types of energy sources associated with the equipment Icon Materials operates include electrical, mechanical, pneumatic, hydraulic, thermal, and gravity. Electrical energy is the most common source of energy we work around. Most all the equipment Icon Materials operates has an electrical energy source. Generally, but not always, turning off the electricity at the main panel specific to that equipment will shut off the electrical energy source. Failure to turn off electrical power can result in shocks, burns, and even electrocution. With the high voltage we run on most of our equipment, it is extremely important to make sure the electricity is locked out. Mechanical energy is the movement of machinery. Conveyors, jaws, asphalt drums, and numerous other pieces of equipment in our facilities have moving parts. These parts must be prevented from moving when we work on them. Pneumatic energy, or the energy of compressed air, operates many parts of our equipment. The air can cause equipment to move, or the release of compressed air can cause injuries. The air must be shut off, locked out, and the air pressure released before working on equipment. Hydraulic energy, which is the energy of liquids under pressure, is very similar to pneumatic. It must be shut off, locked out, and the pressure released before we can work on it. Thermal energy is both heat and cold that can injure an employee. This could be hot engines, asphalt, plant equipment, etc. Gravity is also another energy source that needs to be considered. Falling materials, product in silos or bins, or parts of equipment that can fall all need to be either emptied or locked out in a manner that prevents them from falling. Icon Materials uses specific types of lockout-tagout devices that are easily recognizable. Locks are the main piece that is used. These locks are specific for lockout-tagout and are not to be used for any other purpose. All lockout-tagout locks are red. There is only one key for each of these locks, and the person that put the lock on the equipment must have that key in their possession. Each lock must identify who placed the lock on the equipment. This is done with a tag attached to the lock. No one is ever allowed to remove someone else's lock, even with their permission. Other types of lockout devices can be used to help lock out different types of equipment. Icon Materials has lockout devices available for valves, electrical switches, and plug-ins. Other devices can be obtained for specific applications. If multiple people are working on equipment, each person must attach their own lock to the equipment. To facilitate this, Icon Materials has group lockout devices that allows each person to attach a lock. In some cases, a piece of equipment is not able to accept a lock. This is very much the case with mobile equipment. When we are working on this type of equipment, a tag is placed on the equipment at the door or ignition point stating it is locked and tagged out. This tag must be treated exactly like a locked piece of equipment. One extremely important aspect of lockout-tagout is verification of isolation. This means each time a piece of equipment is locked or tagged out, the person who locked or tagged out the equipment must try to start it to make sure it is properly locked out. When an authorized employee is finished with the maintenance or repairs of a piece of equipment, they check the area for any tools or parts and notify affected people that they are done. Then the authorized person can remove their lockout-tagout devices. It is extremely important to know that only the person that applied the lockout-tagout device is allowed to remove it. Equipment that is powered with an electrical cord is de-energized just by unplugging the cord. As long as you have the plug end in your sight, then it is not needed to lock out the equipment. However, if you leave the area, or the plug end is not in your direct sight of vision, then you must apply a lockout device to it. Oldcastle Materials and Icon Materials take lockout-tagout so seriously we employ zero tolerance for lockout-tagout violations. If an employee knowingly violates lockout-tagout procedures, they will be terminated. For any lockout-tagout violations, there will be an immediate suspension until the situation can be reviewed. Supervisors also can be suspended and terminated for violations by their employees. Lockout-tagout is a very important step of how Icon Materials performs maintenance and repair on equipment, one that can mean life or death. For affected employees, it is very important for you to remember, equipment must be locked or tagged out before it can be worked on. Only authorized employees are allowed to perform lockout-tagout. Never remove someone else's lock. Never try to operate equipment that is locked or tagged out. And if you ever need to work on equipment that may need to be locked out, notify your supervisor, and they will arrange the proper training. Remember, here at Icon Materials, lockout-tagout is used to protect not only you, but your fellow employees.